Retire your way. Find out how to get a complimentary copy of Loren Merkle's book next on Retiring Today. I'm Molly Nelson here with Clint Huntrods and Loren Merkle. Clint is a retirement planner with a PhD, and Loren Merkle is a certified financial planner, a certified financial fiduciary, and a retirement income certified professional. The theme of today's show is, wait for it, retire your way. Nice drum roll there. We did not rehearse that, but I love it. It's the theme today because it's the name of Loren's book. It's the name of our toolkit, and it really, Loren, it's exactly what you want people to do when they get close to retirement.
Well, I think it's what happens when people do retire, whether it's planned or not. Everybody has some uniqueness to their lives, and that doesn't change in retirement. And I really wanted the book to capture what that nuance to people's retirement really is, and I think it really does. And when you read the book, you're going to get a whole bunch of strategies around how you plan for your retirement and the uniqueness to what your retirement brings to you. Over the last couple decades of doing this, I've been able to be a part of many people's retirements, and I get to see directly how their retirements play out and the uniqueness that is with everybody's retirement. There's certainly some parallels. There's certainly some similarities to people retiring, like they don't have to work anymore and they get to do whatever they want to do, but what they want to do is a little bit different for everybody.
Yeah, and it's really all about how do we enjoy our time in retirement and how do we take back that time. We worked with a family really recently, about 6 months ago, that we started with them. And initially, the wife in this particular couple said, hey, I want to retire a few years from now. I mean, we really started initial dates of 2-3 years out. Last week, we just met with her and she said, I retired, and she was so excited. And that was a really cool opportunity for us as retirement planners to be able to have assisted her in seeing that pathway to be able to retire her way, take back her time, and now spend time with grandkids is just at the top of the list, and she's got a garden started.
And when she said that, she brought the excitement, right? The smile on her face, because she was envisioning all the things that she wanted to do with the grandkids and start the garden, which she never had time to do before. And that's one of the parallels, is that excitement, that joy. Also, one of the parallels is the anxiety that comes with making those decisions on the forefront of retiring, because you do have to weed through a lot of decisions, oftentimes permanent decisions that you've never had to weed through before.
And that's where our relationship started. She was anxious, she was nervous, she didn't know if she was ever going to be able to retire. And then in our visit last week, every time we talked about retirement, she just had this fist pump. And it was just hilarious. We loved it. It was such a fun visit. All that anxiety was gone. She made her decision with confidence, and she was able to retire her way.
Clint, I'm glad you mentioned the timeline, because it's a little bit different for everybody from the time they say, I want to retire, to the fist pump. But there is a process involved. It just doesn't happen. You don't just say, I want to retire, and then all of a sudden you retire. At least to do it with confidence and security. We have a process. Loren, you've been doing this for over, 25 years now?
About 25 years
About
now.
25 years now, Loren. And we put together a process, and it's a 3-step process that helps people get to that fist pump.
It really does. And it's a well thought out, vetted process that we've developed over the last 25 years. And after going through many retirements with many people, and that process starts with just getting to know you. And we call that the connection visit, and where we're just connecting. What do you want your retirement to look like? What are some of the problem areas that you see in getting from the working world to the retirement world? What kind of concerns? What keeps you up at night? What questions do you have around Social Security or how you're going to deliver income? That first visit, or the Retire Ready call, is all about you and what you're thinking about. And then we offer as much as we can during the first step of the process, but it's also intended to take us to the next step, where we can really dive deep into what your financial retirement looks like.
And that next step is strategize. And that's when you assess, Clint, a lot of the risks. So some of the risks, tax risks, health risks, political risk, but the one we want to focus on right now is inflation. And it's hard to wrap your mind around planning for inflation, because what you pay now for a sack of groceries is not what you're going to pay 10 or 20 or 30 years into retirement.
Yeah, and it's something that not every family thinks about as they're building their own plan. They don't always remember, hey, let's include the impact of inflation. So let's take a closer look at that. When you think about the biggest impact of inflation, it's going to happen within the income portion of your overall plan. And there's really two parts or two segments of that. We've got the guaranteed portion, like Social Security, perhaps you have a pension, and then we also have the different retirement assets. Both are impacted by inflation, and you need to have a plan that's going to be appropriately prepared to help you overcome inflation. And so one thing that we have as you analyze your Social Security statement is that's going to continue to increase over time based on cost of living adjustments. As Social Security is looking to really help you and assist for the inflation impact to your overall retirement income plan. And so let's just take a look at how this plays out. In 2023, we all know that inflation was rising across the board in almost every category that you look at. One of the ones that we all heard and probably felt most directly was the impact of food. And just the cost of going to the grocery store was going to be an awful lot more. On average, we saw that somewhere around 6% increase on food prices just in 2023 alone. So if we think about what the cost of living adjustment to your Social Security benefit does to help you towards combating that, if we took an average Social Security benefit of around $3,000 per month, in 2023 there was a cost of living adjustment of 3.2%. So that 3.2% on that $3,000 benefit is going to equate to not quite $100 per month as an increase of what you're going to get from your Social Security benefit each month. After taxes, probably more like $80, depending on your situation. If you think about that, $160 extra each month is helpful. No one's going to turn that down, but does that really go to help meet some of the different costs that increased during the year of 2023? We talked about food being up 6%. You can think about transportation, housing, insurance, home and auto is something that's been increasing as well. And when you start to think about all those different things and how much they're increasing the cost of over time, you'll find that while Social Security cost of living adjustment is helpful, it's probably not going to beat or overcome inflation. A lot of that really has to come from the other portion of your retirement income plan, which is those retirement assets. And how are we going to use those retirement assets to grow over time, deliver you consistent income? And one thing that we've seen a big trend and a shift towards in a high inflationary environment, we also see a high interest rate environment as the government's working to combat inflation. So we saw a lot of families start to shift assets into things like high interest savings accounts and CDs because they're paying better rates than we've seen for really decades. One of the dangers that families can actually fall into is that these ultimately can be an inflation trap. And that sounds kind of scary, but what that really means is that if inflation's at 9% like it was in 2022, and you're in a 4% CD, you are safely losing about 5% per year to the cost of inflation and the reduction in the purchasing power of your dollar. So really we need to think outside of inflation traps like those CDs and high interest earning accounts. And really it doesn't mean that they're bad, right? It can be a great for a portion of your overall portfolio. But when we think about it, if you were to shift all of your dollars into those CDs, you would give up the potential for market returns, which in 2023 was 24%. Historically, we've seen over the last 30 years around 10% on average returns in the S&P. And we had a family that actually came to us and they had shifted all of their retirement assets to CDs. And across all of them, they were getting about 4.5% annual return. So as we sat down with them for our strategy visit, we were actually able to walk through that impact of inflation. And one thing that they quickly found out is on all the spreadsheets that they had on their homemade plan, they were not accounting for inflation. So when they were showing that 4% return and they were, safely having a retirement plan that was going to be successful, we actually were able to show them that because they didn't plan for inflation, that was really going to change the dynamics an awful lot. So in working with that family, we were able to help show them, hey, we don't need to take on too much market risk or more than you're comfortable, but through a comprehensive retirement plan, that can help you to not only stay up with inflation, but really to be able to overcome that over the long run. And so that's really where the importance of having that comprehensive investment plan, comprehensive approach, and working with retirement planners can help assist you in a high inflation rate environment.
That inflation trap is a real risk coming off the heels of a 15-year near zero inflationary environment. A lot of people have forgot to plan for that. And then now we have this interest rate environment where people can get safe return at 4 to 4.5%. The problem is that's a very temporary that's a very temporary return that we're not going to be able to receive for the next 10 to 15 years. And people get on average $94 increase on their Social Security. I mean, they're going through that within their first trip to the grocery store as far as an increase, and those prices aren't going to come down. Inflation increases will come down. So instead of 9% in 2022, now it's around 4%.
Yep.
The increase is going to come down, but what it actually costs us to live is not going to come down. So we have to make sure that we plan for inflation, not only short term, but long term. The S&P 500 is probably not a great home for 100% of most people's assets. The bank is probably not a good home for 100% of most people's assets. We have to be diversified, create the recession-resistant portfolio that can account for taxes, account for inflation, and account for the growth needs along the way.
And to me, planning for inflation is the exact definition of retiring your way, because it allows you to keep your lifestyle up, because you don't want to not be able to do the things you want to in retirement.
Yeah, and that's what we see with a lot of families is we're going to set a certain amount of expenses that they want to live for a monthly lifestyle. That's just going to continue to increase throughout retirement, and they need to make sure that they're planning for not only their expenses today, but what could that look like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years down the road as we plan for a really long and successful retirement.
We'll continue talking about how to retire your way, including how to get a complimentary copy of Loren's book and our Retire Your Way toolkit next.
You dream of a happy retirement, but there are some big questions to answer first. Do I have enough saved? When should I take Social Security? How will I pay for health care and keep up with inflation? Go to merkleretire.com to schedule a 15-minute retirement checkup call to talk directly with a retirement planner and get answers to your important retirement questions. The first step to your retirement starts with a 15-minute retirement checkup call.
Do I have enough saved for retirement? When should I take Social Security? Which Medicare option is best? How do I plan for inflation? Sometimes the road to retirement starts with more questions than answers. We're here to help. Join us for our upcoming Journey to Retirement workshop. Get answers and start your retirement journey with confidence. Our online workshop includes information on Secure Act 2.0 and changing retirement rules. Visit retirewithmerkle.com to register for an upcoming workshop. Your retirement journey starts now.
The Merkle Retirement Planning Team provides personable and professional expertise unrivaled in this area. They include us in every step of the planning process. The peace of mind provided to us by the Merkle team allows us to fully enjoy this special time of our lives. Instead of feeling snakebit, we feel confident that with the Merkle Retirement Planning Team at our sides, we can navigate any challenge that comes our way.
Merkle Retirement Planning. Your retirement starts here.
Welcome back. I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Clint Huntrods, and we're talking about Retire Your Way. Loren has written a book with that name, and we also have a toolkit, Retire Your Way toolkit.com. That's where you can get a complimentary copy of the book. Loren, if someone were to read this book, what would they learn?
When you think about all the things that keep you up at night as you think about retiring, you will find solutions to those concerns in the book. You're going to find solutions to the income problem. How do you actually start taking money out of this money that you've been saving for all of those years, turn it into lifestyle income at point of retirement, but also 10, 15, 20 years down the road in retirement, considering all the types of risks that you may face, like inflation risk, taxation, and some of the other risks like market or economic risk. We're going to have a specific chapter. There is a specific chapter in the book about taxes, about legacy planning, about creating a recession-resistant portfolio to make sure that the recessions that do take place over the course of your retirement are not going to rob your portfolio as well. So all of those things will be included in the book. And what I really like about the outcome of this book is it's very simple to read. It is a quick read, it's simple to read, and it is packed with information that you can use almost immediately to help you on your way to retirement.
And that's the feedback that I get, is that people are starting to realize what it's like to have a retirement plan Historically, as families are in their working years, maybe they're working with an investment advisor, their plan is relatively narrow. The book does a great job, as you've just mentioned, in summarizing it, of outlining what a retirement plan looks like, all the different things that you need to be thinking about as you're looking to make that transition into those retirement years.
And the Retire Your Way toolkit isn't narrowly focused to just the book. We include the guides because there is so much that goes into retirement. So the guides that you'll get at retireyourwaytoolkit.com are these. Will a recession rob your retirement? Retirement income checklist. Are you paying too much in taxes in retirement? Will your money last as long as you do? And Social Security decisions. Boy, if there was a more comprehensive kind of toolkit that spoke to all the concerns of retirees, I think it'd be hard to find another one.
Yeah, we've packed a couple decades of information into this easy, concise resource to help people on their way to retirement. So it's going to be a quick read, it's an easy read, and action-packed with strategies that you can take to implement your retirement plan.
Yeah, and I just think about, as we talked through that example of the inflation impact on your portfolio, the retirement income checklist is a great thing to go through and just think about each of those areas. You know, what's my Social Security going to look like? What do I need to be thinking about related to that decision that's out there? Average married couple has up to 81 different options. That'll start to give you an idea of some of the things you need to be aware of. Other things that are out there are in investment strategies. You know, we talked about maybe you're not 100% equity and looking to get those gains in the market. You also don't want to have all of your dollars in those inflation traps like a CD. What is some of that middle ground that can help to have a really diversified approach to your investment portfolio from a risk standpoint and still achieve market returns over the long run, but not take as much risk as maybe you did during your working years?
And I'm glad you mentioned the retirement income checklist. I printed it out and brought a copy along because I was refreshing some of the content on there too. And I think one of the big questions that a lot of people have too, Loren, is outliving their money. And that's included not only in the checklist, but in one of the guides as well. And they're really concerned about not only themselves, but their spouse. Will my spouse be taken care of when I'm gone?
One of the biggest pieces of feedback that we get from couples that we work with is some people tell us, I want to make sure that we can have the retirement that we want to have while we're both together. But what happens when I'm gone? I want to make sure my spouse is taken care of. It's the number one fear going into retirement. Do I have enough, and will I outlive my money? And that needs to be planned for the sooner the better. Because once you see what your income can look like when you retire, and you can afford the lifestyle that you want to have, and then you can also see how long will your income last. Will it last up until age 90, 80, all the way to 100? That can really relieve some anxiety. You are in a good place. You do have enough money to last as long as you live, or you might have a shortfall, and here are some specific steps that you can take to make sure that that shortfall is really diminished. So no matter what the outcome is, there is anxiety relief or anxiety relief through action steps to help you push that income out even longer.
And in some ways, it's really just thinking about that longer term approach to your plan rather than just making a Social Security decision. You talked about making sure a surviving spouse is protected. Well, that one Social Security benefit that's lower is going to go away when somebody passes. The larger benefit remains. So instead of just electing Social Security as a standalone decision, let's think about that, how that not only fits in your retirement income plan, but also from a legacy planning standpoint. And how do I make sure I'm protecting the surviving spouse with that larger benefit and making sure that we're maximizing it?
Yeah, when people talk about maximizing Social Security, they're just thinking about it from a siloed approach of here's my Social Security, here's the decisions I can make. And really what people want to do, what you're looking to do, is maximize your retirement plan. And Social Security is a big part of that, but maximizing Social Security might actually hurt the impact of your investments down the road. So when you're looking at it all together, then you can have a different outcome than if you're looking at each one of your moving pieces in a siloed approach. And that's really what this book and the Retire Your Way toolkit encourages, is a holistic approach to all of the assets or income resources that you've been able to accumulate over the last 40, 45 years.
And as you guys are talking, I'm thinking this is all stuff that would be better to know before you retire. You don't want to find out at 65 or after you've made the Social Security decision that it wasn't the best one for you or that you don't have enough money. This is the kind of stuff you want to know right now. If you're 57 or older and you're thinking about retirement, go to Retire Your Way toolkit right now, download the guides, and get your complimentary copy of Loren's book, Retire Your Way. We were talking about our 3-step process to helping people build a retire secure roadmap. We'll talk about step 3 next.
Do I have enough saved for retirement? When should I take Social Security? Which Medicare option is best? How do I plan for inflation? Sometimes the road to retirement starts with more questions than answers. We're here to help. Join us for our upcoming Journey to Retirement workshop. Get answers and start your retirement journey with confidence. Our online workshop includes information on Secure Act 2.0 and changing retirement rules. Visit retirewithmerkle.com to register for an upcoming workshop. Your retirement journey starts now.
Anytime I have even the smallest question about my accounts or what effect the latest tax law might have on my situation, the Merkle Retirement Planning Team is always there and quick to help. I'm so glad they treat you like family. I'm so happy to have such an excellent team working for my future and ensuring I do the best to achieve my financial goals.
Merkle Retirement Planning. Your retirement starts here.
Do you wonder if you have enough saved for retirement? Will your money last as long as you do? Will taxes, healthcare costs, and inflation derail your retirement? Get answers. Schedule a 15-minute retirement checkup call today. We can cover a lot in 15 minutes, including strategies you can implement now to start your retirement journey. Schedule a call at merkleretire.com. The first step to a confident retirement starts with a simple phone call.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm Molly Nelson here with Loren Merkle and Clint Huntrods. We've been talking about the 3-step process that our retirement planners use to help people put together their retire secure roadmap. Step 1, connect. Step 2, strategize. Step 3, Loren, plan.
Which is the best step for everybody, because for the first time probably ever, you get to see what your retirement picture looks like from a financial standpoint. You have your lifestyle goals. What do you want to accomplish in retirement? The plan shows you in a visual way, easy to understand. Here's how you're going to accomplish all of these things that you've been looking to accomplish for all these years.
But what if I say, hey, Loren, Clint, I've got a 401k. I know what I want to do, Social Security. My house is paid off. I'm ready to ride into the sunset. Why do I need anything else?
I mean, just go back to that inflation example. What it is today, there's likely to be changes over time. You need to make sure that you're ready for all those risks in retirement, from inflation to the tax implications of taking that 401k distributions over time and being ready for that. So in many cases, people are looking at a short-term view. What the retirement plan does is let's look short-term and help us through those decisions. But then let's also think about more of that longer-term approach and all those risks that are out there to be sure that we're going to be ready for those so that you can truly retire with confidence, get it right the first time, and be ready for all those different risks that are out there.
Only about 36% of those going into retirement have a written retirement plan. And having that written retirement plan, what those 36% would attest to is that it is easier. It takes the hardness, the complications out of retiring. And also, Clint, when you teach your in-person workshops, one of the biggest pieces of feedback that you get, people come up to you afterwards and they say, I wish I would have known this. I would have made different decisions only if I would have known. The plan takes all of that out of there. So more confidence, less anxiety, and you're making decisions because you know you need to make the decisions based on what you're trying to accomplish, as opposed to, well, I heard this, or my neighbor did this, or my coworker did, right? This is your retirement. You want to retire your way. You need your retirement plan.
Another thing as statistics go is that actually about 50% of people don't retire kind of on their own schedule, but rather we've seen it lately. Some layoffs for companies are downsizing, or families are just saying, hey, I'm too stressed in this environment. I'm ready to retire. So that gets to the importance of having a plan before you're at that retirement date and saying, okay, I'm done, and then let's put a plan together. Let's do that a few years in advance to make sure that we're maximizing everything in those last few years, and you're ready for potentially retiring sooner, whether you decide to, because you're ready to and you want to spend more time with the grandkids, as we talked about earlier, or something changes at work, health status, a lot of different factors that could be out there, and aging parent. We see it all, and just being ready for everything and making sure you're retirement plan is going to be able to be updated and continue to help you on the way.
So you're telling me it's about a lot more than investments. What all is included in a written retirement plan?
Yeah, that's probably what people are thinking right now. What is this retirement plan thing that you guys are talking about? First, it's a written document. You have a higher probability of being successful with your goals if it is written down. We call it the Retire Secure Roadmap. That's our proprietary, customized, written retirement plan. We start out with the income because that's what most people's concern is. Where are you going to get the income from? How much income can you receive now and not have to fear about running out of income down the road? And then we go to the tax plan. How do you maximize the income you have coming in, minimize the impact of taxation now and later down the road? We have the healthcare. Big concerns over healthcare as people retire prior to Medicare age. And even once you hit Medicare, there's changes that happen each and every year. You need to make adjustments on a yearly basis. And then we have the legacy plan. Everybody's going to have their last day. What happens to your investments? What happens to your belongings once you have that last day? How do you transition those in the most efficient, easy way onto your loved ones and charities? And then, of course, we have the investment plan. The investment is the fuel that's going to provide that income over the course of your retirement, be it inflation, be it taxation. How do you create a recession-resistant portfolio that's going to stand the test of time throughout the entire course of your retirement? Those are the 5 financial pillars that really address the biggest pillar that you are most looking forward to, which is your lifestyle pillar. This is all the fun stuff that is going to take place over the course of your retirement. Those 6 pillars are written, customized to you, what you want your retirement to look like based on your resources, and it's all in one concise written document.
Yeah, and I love the idea that the lifestyle is included. Let's plan for that lifestyle. That's the most important part in some ways. And ultimately, those 5 financial factors are going to drive that. That's something that we want to include in there as well, so that you've started to think about what that transition looks like, because there's a financial aspect to retirement. There's also an emotional aspect. And that's something that we want to plan for and prepare for as well.
Yeah, plan for that lifestyle so you can pay for that lifestyle now and 20 or even 30 years into retirement. So they did a good job of explaining what a retirement plan is. Now, how do you get started? This is a great way to get started. It's our Retire Your Way Toolkit. Go to retireyourwaytoolkit.com right now. You can download the 5 guides and a complimentary copy of Loren's book, Retire Your Way. Loren, I bet you had a lot of fun writing this book.
It was a long project, but it's extremely rewarding, especially when people come up to me and they say, I loved your book because it helped me on this part of the plan. It helped me with this mindset. So that's the most rewarding part of it. I had a lot of fun doing it, but seeing the results is even more fun.
And seeing the results of helping people put together a customized plan is rewarding for you, Clint.
It's impactful. Every time we deliver a plan and we have that, families just have that emotional reaction. I mean, they're just so excited, they're happy. A lot of that stress has faded away. I mean, that's just what we love to do as retirement planners, is to be able to help families prepare to confidently retire their own way, as the book says in the title.
And a fist bump. That's how everybody wants to enter retirement. This is Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
Do I have enough saved for retirement? When should I take Social Security? Which Medicare option is best? How do I plan for inflation? Sometimes the road to retirement starts with more questions than answers. We're here to help. Join us for our upcoming Journey to Retirement workshop. Get answers and start your retirement journey with confidence. Our online workshop includes information on Secure Act 2.0 and changing retirement rules. Visit retirewithmerkle.com to register for an upcoming workshop. Your retirement journey starts now.